doing well. My name is FPL Nacho, if you didn't know already, and we're halfway through Game Week 11, and I felt like it was a great opportunity for us to reflect on the games so far and also preview what is coming up today, because there are some big games in just both the Premier League context and also in terms of FPL, and it feels like a really big game week for the season so far. We've had Haaland not failing, but in comparison to the returns of Salah, it feels like a flop for those managers that had Erling Haaland. So we need to address the situation with Haaland. We need to talk about Mo Salah, and in general, we're going to talk about the game specific. Obviously, the players that underperformed, overperformed. And then I want to deep dive into the coming game weeks. Who are the players that we actually need to prioritise? And first and foremost, I need to put it out there. It's the international break after this week. So if you're one of those managers that has had a bad game week, I'm here to tell you it's going to be okay. And importantly, don't make any early transfers. We've now got 2 weeks until game week 12. So much can happen between now and then. I just really would not advise making transfers right now. So I'm just going to put it out there for anybody that is close to making any rage transfers. And please do let me know in the comment section, are you one of those managers that has already made a transfer? Because we're going to take a look at some of the transfers already. And there's a lot. There have been so many transfers already because of the huge swings that have already happened in Game Week 11. But first and foremost, let me know how you guys are getting on. Let me know in general where you're tuning in from. How many points have you scored already in Game Week 11? Who have you got to play? Let me know in the chat. It's good to see some familiar faces already. Nixie, hope you're doing well. And Mortal Technique, as always. Cheekster rolled his 3 transfers on 66 points so far, which is magnificent. 6 points on my bench. Yes, it does feel like it is a week where managers could have used their bench boost and had a monster return. Salah captained the stand-up, and Cheekster's done a John Wick 1 to 4 all-nighter. That is dedication. I've tried to watch John Wick 4 and I fell asleep 3 times trying to watch it. Cheekster, let me know in the chat, is John Wick 4 worth staying up for? Every single one that I've watched, it feels like they get better and better. And I've heard John Wick 4 is actually quality as well. So let me know in the chat if it is worth me staying up. Maybe that's one to do tonight. Nick Stain doing well. Apart from bench and Vissa, but still got 77 points with Son, Palmer and Garnacho left. Yes, there are some exciting differentials in today's games. Man United assets. If you own any of those, they are differentials in their own right. Son being less than 10% is really exciting. If Son outscores Solanke today, then Son owners have really had a big week. And Cole Palmer obviously being mass owned by a lot of people, but remember was sold by quite a lot going into Game Week 11. So if he does go off, he'll wipe out that Arsenal clean sheet and reward those managers that kept the loyalty with him. We've got no guarantees right now, but I do think Palmer will start. There was a picture of Chelsea training with him in the background. I think that means he probably does get the start. Teslim saying 70 points with 3 left. Smith Rowe benched. That's painful to read. That is a painful one to read. So let me know, guys. Keep putting your scores in the chat. Be interesting to see. And of course, if you're not already and you're enjoying it, we're only 2 minutes in, but if you are looking forward to the stream, please do consider dropping a like and of course subscribe to the channel. It's always massively appreciated. Just to go through what we're going to do, quick recap of my team and plans, but let's not touch too much on that because it's all about you guys and of course reflecting on the games so far. And if you have any hot topics that you want me to touch on, obviously I'm going to try and address all of the big ones, but if there's anything that I've missed, don't be shy, put them in the chat and I'll try and address them over the next hour, let's say the stream's going to be. So first and foremost, let's take a look at my current team, and we're also going to reflect obviously on just generally what everybody has to play. So 65 points for the team, rolled my transfer, and I think I've got 5 players left to play. So it's been a good game week so far. Obviously the budget 4 was coming in clutch with Cunha and Vissa basically getting, 25 points between them, and then Mo Salah with that late goal picking up the 3 bonus was just a huge swing in FPL. For those that didn't watch it yesterday, Salah got the goal, jumped up to 3 bonus. In the meantime, Haaland got a yellow card, came off 2 bonus, and ended up only getting 5 points. Just those swings in FPL are absolutely massive because at the time, really, there was not really any difference between the two. Salah was going to get his assist and no bonus, and Erling Haaland was going to get a goal, 2 bonus, and basically outscore Mohamed Salah. But as it is, FPL is a cruel game and the swing happened, and now Mo Salah captainers are obviously looking really, really good. But we will touch on obviously the game in detail in a minute. Outside of that, for me, 8 Nori with a 6-pointer. Don't really know whether he should have had any more. We will take a look at that in a minute. And Bournemouth with a 5-pointer. But look, for me, this game week is all about the differentials. And coming into Sunday, if we have the return from Diego Dallo in terms of a Man United clean sheet, and we get a goal from either Son or Garnacho, then this is going to be probably an all-timer for me in terms of FPL returns. And it could have been so much more if Trent didn't go off that injury on the 25th minute. I know everybody right now is probably panicking about the Trent situation. Arne Slot did come out and state that it is a hamstring injury. But of course, right now, going into an international break, no need to panic on Trent. I would hold fire, wait and see what happens. And then if it looks like he is ruled out for game week 12, then when we take a look at the fixtures right now, after game week 12, if you don't get that game, and it's worth noting, they have a perfectly good backup in Connor Bradley. He's obviously not the level of Trent, but he can do a job. After that, you look at the fixtures and think, City at home, not amazing. Newcastle away, not a great game. Everton away probably is a good game, but with the derby, you never know what could happen. Then Fulham, Spurs. So I think Trent is fantastic from maybe game week 18 onwards. So I do think if you're in a position like me where you own Trent, pause, wait and see what happens over this international break. Wait until we get an update from Arne Slot. If it looks like he is a doubt for game week 12, I think that is a really easy sideways move to an Arsenal defender, and you get them in long term. And then we might just accept that it's going to be difficult to get back to Trent. But right now at 7 million, I just don't think he is justifying the price point right now, especially off the back of this hamstring injury. So yeah, 65 points. Let me know how you guys are getting on right now. Obviously, it's a good game week so far. Fingers crossed we get a differential goal in here. So we want to take a look at some of the games. I can see Sonny picked up 83 points and counting. Damien Foster, hope you're well, mate. I hope Solanke gets something today. I made him my captain. Yes, I do think Solanke is one of the top captains. Of course, Mo Salah, with his captaincy returns, on hindsight, looks like a great pick as well. But is anybody going to be surprised if Spurs score 4 goals against Ipswich today? I personally wouldn't at all. Foster saying already made 2 to avoid price swings. Yes, it is worth noting. Anybody that did miss it, there were some significant price changes tonight. Just to give you an update on what those were, I'll get up on your screen now. Let me get them up for you. So, for anybody that missed it, the price changes that happened last night, there were quite a few. So we had players of significance that went down in price, included Erling Haaland went down in price, Phil Foden went down in price, and it looks like Vissa went up in price. Gabriel also going down in price was really, really surprising. Now 6.1 million. Originally, when I spoke about buying Gabriel, I spoke about how maybe Saliba at a cheaper price just makes sense. But now Gabriel at only 6.1 million, those managers that actually avoided him, now I think that is the pickup to get once we get to maybe game week 12 or game week 13, depending on your strategy. Few players obviously of note that went up in price. Of course, we've got players like Brennan Johnson, Diego Dallo went up in price. Mo Salah, of course, was always going to go up in price after a haul. Johan Vissa going up in price as well. Still think he is a good pickup, but we will touch on that in a minute. So, taking a look at the games, because that is why everybody is here, I imagine. We're going to go into detail, taking a look at the actual shot maps, all the heat maps and all that good stuff. But just a quick overview on the games before we go into detail. Brentford obviously with the 3-2 win, Vissa with the 2 goals. And I do want to touch on this man because I brought him into my team, and it very much is a case of you play him in the home games, you don't have to play him in the away games. Obviously he had his injury, but 13 points in the home game against Bournemouth, fantastic. Awful away against Fulham. 10 points in the home game against Ipswich, fantastic. Nothing underlying in the Man United game, but he did obviously only play 24 minutes. In the Man City game, obviously picking up the results, but 8-pointer at home against Southampton, nothing against Liverpool. 11-pointer against Palace at home. Very much a case of, if you're going to buy Vissa, I really do like him as a rotation pick. I would not be buying Vissa right now as a player that you want to play week in, week out. Hence why when I wildcarded in game week 10, I brought in players that I could easily go with it. So game week 12, I actually am currently benching him away against Everton because I do think that is going to be a tough fixture. But then I'm looking to play him in this game, play him in this game, play him in this game. So he is very much a rotational piece, I think, as opposed to a player that you have to build your team around. So please do not be buying Vissa as your main forward. Brentford are a very different team away from home, and we've seen that consistently so far this season. Brian Mbeumo we're going to touch on in a minute. In terms of Bournemouth, continue to be a very interesting team. Scoring goals, great value picks. Evan Nielsen, interesting again with a goal. The only problem with him previously was coming off early in other games. Didn't have that against Brentford. And if we see consistency of minutes, with these fixtures coming up for them, I do think at 5.9 million, he emerges as another brilliant forward for our teams. And of course, Semenyo. Didn't pick up anything this weekend, but I still think Semenyo is the man to go for. In terms of Fulham, Smith Rowe just ticking over, so damn good. A player that I did sell in my wildcard, slightly regretful, but I always felt like his minutes were going to be a hindrance going forward. And I still think that is going to be evident. I think he is a starter in this Fulham team, but I do think with someone like a Harry Wilson who could steal minutes from him and other players, he is a player that, if it isn't going his way, 70th minute is an easy substitute for someone like Silva. So just be cautious of that with Smith Rowe. And the fixtures are very, very indifferent. Probably isn't the time to be picking up Fulham assets right now, it's worth noting. Outside of that, Raul Jimenez ticking over, but these minutes are slightly concerning. Muniz is continuing to steal minutes away from him. In terms of West Ham Everton, congratulations to anybody that did play Fabianski. It always felt like it was going to be a low-scoring game. Hopefully those that benched him have their other goalkeeper come in clutch, but I'm not going to touch on West Ham Everton right now. In terms of Wolves, Cunha, obviously the man. This is how FPL swings sometimes. Cunha versus Strand Larsen. Cunha walks away with a 12-pointer. Strand Larsen goes off injured. It's just always the case in FPL, it seems. And Cunha just continues to be that talisman in that Wolves team. And the big thing about it is, coming into this really, really busy winter period, you want the players that have the minutes and are talismanic figures. And this is exactly that man. I don't think you've missed the boat. I still think the fixtures are there for him. The fixtures are brilliant. I wouldn't be putting off anybody going for Cunha right now. I would prefer him over someone like a Vissa, and I would prefer him over someone like an Evan Nielsen. And I actually prefer him more than Chris Wood, just because of the fixtures being so good. Outside of that, not much to talk about in terms of overview. We're going to talk on Man City in its own right, but let's just have a shout out to Brighton. An unbelievable second half performance. The substitutes that the manager made were amazing. Belieber coming on, just giving that presence in midfield and just getting the turnovers that they needed. And the pressure was all in that Man City half. Brighton have to be on radar. We're going to touch on the players in detail in a minute, but this man, I have to put it out there. This is a ridiculous stat. Okay, so the man was always the guy in the opening pre-season period and in the opening weeks. Injured in game week 5. Didn't play between game week 6 and 10. Plays 25 minutes and gets an 11-pointer. Okay, so what we're looking at here is this period here. Game week 6 to 11, he's played 25 minutes and he's got 11 points. Now, I really hate to be this guy, but he's not even going to appear. Let me go back in time to a certain Calvert-Lewin. Now, I apologise, Calvert-Lewin owners. In the same period that Calvert-Lewin has played when João Pedro has been injured, between game weeks 11 and game week 6, this man has played 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 80 minutes, 61 and 74. How many points has he scored? 11. 11 points. So in 25 minutes of João Pedro coming back, he has scored the same amount of points as Calvert-Lewin between game week 6 and 11. Let's just put that into context right now. I do apologise to anyone that still owns Calvert-Lewin. That is the ultimate troll that João Pedro is. The man could be injured for 5 game weeks, come back and still troll our FPL teams. Calvert-Lewin is truly atrocious. Finally, just want to quickly touch on, because we're going to come into detail on these games. Liverpool, Villa, Mo Salah with that late goal. Obviously, massively skewed everything. Prior to that, it was an assist, and that was basically it. Not much on the bonus points. He walks away with top bonus and, of course, goal and assist. And when you look at these returns, the man is just on one. He's just on one right now. He has had so many double-digit returns, and it really does feel like he's got the bit between his teeth right now. He is so efficient in this Arne Slot team right now. He isn't erratic like he was in the Jurgen Klopp days. I say erratic, the shot volume was ridiculous. Every player in this Liverpool team right now feels like they are just at absolute top efficiency. That is the only way I can describe it right now. And I feel like Mo Salah is just the absolute figurehead in this Liverpool team. Spoiler alert, I feel like you have to get him in. I just feel like you have to get him in because the fixtures are not incredible, but this Liverpool team are fantastic and they are finding ways to get this man in the right areas. We're going to touch on it, but Mo Salah. So let's get back to some of the chat and then let's crack on with some of the games in detail, because I think that's a really important thing right now, is taking a look at some of the detail in this game week. As always, if you're enjoying the stream, guys, please do drop a like. It's always massively appreciated. And let me know again, what are your scores on the doors? Let me know. Liam saying, is Trent a sell? I've just covered that one off. For me, it is a wait and see over this international break, and then we can reassess, because someone like a Gabriel at 6.1 million, I think is absolutely going to be on radar for our teams. So hold off right now, mate. Please do be cautious. But for a quick recap, just to let you guys know what everybody is doing, Salah has already been bought by 82,000 managers. Look, he's obviously a fantastic buy. Vissa by 62. I've spoke about my concerns with Vissa. He is the man that you rotate with other forwards. I do not think he is an absolute presence in your team. And the João Pedro train has already begun. 42,000 transfers in. I think Brighton are going to be on the menu 100%. 68,000 transfers out for most of Erling Haaland. I need to get a poll up it right now. Please do let me know. Have you sold Haaland already? I gotta know. And guys, anybody that's new in the chat, let me know how you have gotten on, please. Have you sold already? Yes or no? Let me know in the poll, guys. Are you one of those that have not had a Haaland like me? I sold him a couple of weeks ago. Click don't own. If you sold him going into game week 12 already, click yes. Click no. I'm really interested to know what the situation is. If you're basically clicking no, it means that you still have Erling Haaland. If you already sold him weeks ago, click don't own. FPL things say definitely a movie to see. I'm guessing that means John Wick, I'm assuming, on that one. But just to recap, the sells out. Trent is not a sell right now for me. Wait and see. If he is ruled out, then I think we shift him to either Kanate or we go sideways to an Arsenal. If you don't have any Arsenal assets, for me, it makes complete sense to just get it done. Downgrade Trent to an Arsenal defender, most likely Gabriel, now that his price has changed. Sonny with 83 points with Palmer and Wood to play. That is awesome. T-Bone tuning in from California. I would love to be there right now. Sitting at 44 all red with Palmer, Wood, Sells. And if Palmer doesn't play, João Pedro to come off the bench. I think Palmer probably does play, but John's saying Palmer's on crutches. Now, my friend, that is not what I want to read right now. Is that actually legit, or are you trying to scare me right now? Let's take a look. Please do not be scaring me right now with Cole Palmer. I do not think he's on crutches, but let me know if that is legit. I think that is scaring me more than anything, my friend. Don't do that to me. I wouldn't mind Palmer missing out with Vissa's 13 points on the bench. Oh, God. 60 points with 5 players to go, currently in the top 10. Alex, top 10k, surely. Alex, let me know. If you are top 10... that's outrageous. If you're top 10k, it's still outrageous, but there's a little bit more of a difference there. Think Johnson is going to go big today? Yes, I do think Johnson will go big today. I think there is going to be some goals in this Spurs game. Cool, let's get into some of the games. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful Sunday morning, wherever you are tuning in the world. But it's time to talk games. It's time to talk some games. So, and as always, on these Sunday morning streams, this is a stream for you guys. So if you're watching right now and you're thinking, I would rather actually you talk about this. Please do let me know in the comment section. Always try and make this better viewing for you guys. So just to give you context, we're going to talk about the underperformers and the overperformers now, and then talk about the games in detail before the teams and players that we need to target. But if there's things right now you're thinking, Nacho is a little bit dull, a little bit boring, I am open ears. Please do let me know in the chat. I'm trying to make this as good as possible for you guys, and it'd be awesome to know if there's little things that you want tweaking or improved. I am all ears. That is the whole point. Alex is top 10. Alex Herkjolen is top 10. Boys, this is outrageous. Alex, this is unbelievable right now. Might have to get you on a stream, Alex. I might have to get you on a stream soon. Talk through your team, 8 in the world. Alex, if you are actually 8th in the world, drop me a DM. That'll be awesome to check out your team. Maybe get on stream, my friend. Right, let's talk about some of the underperformers and overperformers in the game week so far. Let me know, as always, if this isn't good viewing in terms of the actual view. I can zoom in on the sections. So just to recap right now. Mo Salah, the highest expected FPL points in game week 11 in isolation. We're just looking at game week 11 right now. 0.84 expected goals, 0.71 expected assists. Only 3 shots is worth noting, but obviously where he had his shots were just in great areas. Picked up 14 points. Really good day at the office for Mo Salah. Shot volume wasn't outrageous, but like I said, the players in this Liverpool team are just so efficient right now. And that is the big thing. The players are just getting everything squeezed out from them by Arne Slot. And I think it's going to continue. Arne Slot right now is just looking so damn good. He'll have his problems. Liverpool will hit a moment in this season where they have their problems. It's just going to naturally happen. But right now, they are on this crest right now. And they continue to be better and better. And while we're on it, I think you have to jump on Liverpool assets still. So next up, João Pedro. Only played 25 minutes, 2 shots, 0.93 expected goals. Obviously, that chance was a monster chance for him. I think right now, touching on João Pedro, I wouldn't be jumping into him as we speak. I think we can let game week 12 happen. We need to reassess and see exactly what this Brighton team is going to look like, because we're coming into a busy period. Yes, they don't have European football, which is a big factor, but we don't actually know what Hutzler's main 3 are. It's a big decision right now. Do we go for João Pedro, or do we just stick with the main man Welbeck, because that is the guy who's getting the guaranteed minutes? Jorginho Rutter is playing in that João Pedro role right now. If I had to gamble, I probably would say to you that João Pedro will take his place. But I don't think it's just as obvious as João Pedro is going to play tons and tons of minutes from now until the new year. I do think there could still be rotation at times. So just be cautious of that. João Pedro is fantastic, but there is more competition in this Brighton team than what it was last season. Now, in terms of Erling Haaland, we have to address this, because anybody that looks this right now will say to themselves, Erling Haaland owners were unlucky. Now, Erling Haaland obviously had a big chance where he hit the post. His XG right now is 1.77. It ain't true. 1.77 XG is incorrect. Now, the reason why I need to show you this, we're going to come onto the map here. So, that looks great. Erling Haaland obviously had a huge moment in that game. However, when we take a look at the shots, and we're going to take a look at this little map here, if you see this green one here, that's the goal from Erling Haaland. The goal that he scored, where he shot from literally underneath the bar, was an XG of 0.78, okay? So that chance was 0.78. However, because the first shot that he had, which was saved amazingly by Verbruggen, is also counted in his XG. So the shot they initially had was an XG of 0.51. And then the follow-up chance, where obviously the ball looped up in the air and he scored it, has also been counted in his XG at 0.78. So when we combine the two, we basically have got a total XG of 1.3 for the same chance. So this is why we need to have some context sometimes when we analyse underlying stats. Everybody's looking at it right now saying, oh my God, Erling had 1.7 XG, Salah only had 0.8, is incorrect, because they are counting 2 XGs for the same chance. So it's incorrect. Basically, the chance that Erling Haaland had was 0.5, and its XG should actually be much, much less. We can't be counting the shot that Haaland had and then also the next one on top of that, because it's all one single chance in the moment. So hopefully that makes sense to people in that situation. I do not think in that spot, obviously, Erling Haaland should be counting for both of those chances because it's the same thing. So just wanted to put a little bit of context for Erling Haaland there. We'll come back onto that map in a minute. I just want to touch on a few other players, maybe those players that were a little bit unlucky. So Smith Rowe obviously putting in the business. Only 2 shots though. The shot volume wasn't amazing. I'm still not bullish on Smith Rowe with the upcoming fixtures. I don't think he's a desperate buy for our teams. I've spoken about Vissa already. Now, when we take a look at the actual shot volume for players, Mateta really, really unlucky. 6 shots, 1.33 XG. But right now, with so many amazing forwards in the game, him being priced at 7.3 million, we just can't be touching him. Cannot be touching him right now with Crystal Palace being so hard to predict as a team. So Mateta, not a consideration for our teams. The guy that I have absolutely on my radar, and maybe not a lot of people are talking about him, is going to be Semenyo. Another 5 shots. Now, only one of those on target. And in terms of how many of those were actually in the box, all 5 were in the box. For me, that is a really good sign. He's getting into goal scoring opportunities. The problem is, when you watch him back, most of his shots are either poorly executed or they're blocked shots. So he doesn't even get the shots off to be saved. That's a big thing that we need to remember with Semenyo. This guy has so many shots, but sometimes they're not in the best areas, and sometimes he takes them literally when a guy is stood in front of him. So we need to also consider that. But when he's putting this shot volume up against poorer teams, when he's coming into great fixtures, we need to have Semenyo on the radar 100%. Just take a look at a few other players. Ollie Watkins, obviously a bit of a concern for managers. 3 shots, 0.56 XG, and coming off on the 65th minute. Now, of course, with the fixtures coming up for Aston Villa, Watkins, Villa are always going to be on our radar. But I just don't think we can pay 9 million for Watkins when in any fixture he could come off in the 70th minute if things aren't going their way. This is a different Ollie Watkins. He's the same player in terms of the underlying numbers, but not in terms of the guaranteed minutes. And for that reason, I think it's very difficult to be paying 9 million for someone like Ollie Watkins. So I want to take a look at some of the numbers right now and in terms of the games, because of course Man City-Brighton was probably one of the pick of the bunches in terms of a football purist, in terms of tactics, in terms of the way that Hutzler went out and dominated that second half. Now, when we take a look at the actual numbers for the two teams, Brighton 2, obviously Man City 1 for anyone that didn't know the scoreline. 10 shots for Brighton, 15 for Man City. But that second half performance from Brighton was just unbelievable. The way that the substitutes influenced that game was just a pleasure to watch, really. Real brilliant example of in-game management by Hutzler. And I do think Brighton are going to be a team that do put up good results throughout the course of the season. I think they got the players and the systems in place to be able to do that. But when we take a look at the actual general numbers for Man City and players, like I said, Erling Haaland's numbers are completely wrong. Please do ignore it because they are taking 2 XG chances for 1 single chance. It's just not correct. We spoke about João Pedro. Savinho still putting up good numbers, but nobody can trust that guy. I just would not be touching Savio right now. The big one's going to be Danny Welbeck. Another 90 minutes for Danny Welbeck, 0.52 XG. The numbers are fantastic for him each and every week. And I think we're always going to be tempted to go for the other shiny toy. It's what's happened to Chris Wood recently. Chris Wood, quite a boring pick. Nobody really likes to own Chris Wood, but they like to own him because he delivers points. And that is the aim of the game. Sometimes with João Pedro, maybe we're looking at him thinking, oh, can he actually do the business? Can he replicate what Danny Welbeck's doing? In this case, I do prefer João Pedro. I think Welbeck is going to continue to be the main man in this Brighton team, but I think João Pedro's just got that higher ceiling and that X factor that we always do want in our teams, especially when we're playing FPL. I want to quickly touch on some of the questions in the chat right now. And again, guys, if you are enjoying it, please do let me know. What were your thoughts on the Man City game? Did you enjoy it? I thought it was an unbelievable game. I thought it was a brilliant game because we just saw, I know obviously I'm a Chelsea fan, so it's enjoyable to watch Man City at times like that, but it was so enjoyable to watch Man City just be dominated in that second half at times. And it was really, really impressive just watching a young manager take risks in that second half. And like I said, when that Belieber come on, he was just fantastic. So let me know, what were your thoughts on the Man City-Brighton game? I do think Brighton are now going to be on the menu. If we take a look at the upcoming fixtures for Brighton, so they got Bournemouth away. This is what I'm talking about. I don't think this is actually the best time to be going for Brighton, because I think Bournemouth at home are proving to be a good team. But then after that, Southampton at home, Fulham away, Leicester away, Palace at home, West Ham away. I really do feel that Brighton need to be on our radar going forward. The big problem with it, as we've spoken about, is who is the actual player to get. Because if I bring up right now the players that are available in this Brighton team, this is where my slight concern comes in. So if we take a look at the far right column, I think defenders are also going to be on radar. Again, who do you trust? Who offers the attacking ability? That is something that we need to obviously reassess when we go down the line. Dunk, once he returns at 4.4 million, still would be the choice for me. And I think he is a brilliant rotating defender for your teams. Now, in terms of actually the midfielders, this is where my slight concern comes in. Now, Jorginho Rutter has done a fantastic job in the absence of João Pedro, and his minutes have been good. And I think he's been playing too well to just be a guy who's going to be cast to the bench for the rest of the season. I do think João Pedro is an upgrade on Rutter, and we will hopefully talk to some Brighton fans. If you are a Brighton fan right now, get in the chat, make yourself heard. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think Rutter is coming straight out of the team for João Pedro? My opinion is yes, but I don't think it's a case of just Rutter now sits on the bench and gets 0 minutes. This is my big concern with this Brighton team, because we've got Mitoma, who is going to get guaranteed minutes, but I would argue that the underlying numbers are a little bit of a concern. I don't think I can pay 6.5 million for Mitoma when he isn't necessarily delivering the goods in terms of underlying. He's probably one of their most exciting players and the one that gets things ticking, but I just can't really pay that money for him. Belieber is very interesting, but again, not a fantasy option. Yes, he has picked up a goal and assist, but not an option for our teams. Then we got players like Minter, Adingra, all these players that can steal minutes away. And then, of course, even someone like a Ferguson didn't come on against Man City, and I do think he has fallen down in the pecking order in this Brighton team. Welbeck, this is what I'm speaking about. The minutes are fantastic. The numbers are always good. They're not a position where they are like unbelievable. And that's the problem, because when João Pedro plays in this Brighton team, the numbers, I think, are always decent. Look at these numbers here. Man United and Arsenal over that period, and you put up those numbers. The problem is they are such small sample sizes, but I just feel like João Pedro is the one that we want to go to. But with so many great forwards in the game, it's difficult for me to sit here and say to you, you have to have João Pedro, because there are so many others that I could probably sit here and say to you are probably a bit more guaranteed in terms of minutes, and that is maybe the one that you want to go to, like a Cunha, like a Wood, for example. So João Pedro needs to be on our radar in this Brighton team, and I do think Brighton assets are absolutely ready for us. I see some of the boys and girls in the chat talking. Jason with 62 points. Steph 10's currently 8k in the world. 76 thus this week with Garnacho, Mazraoui and Palmer to go. Joseph saying, enjoy the buzz and the attention, Alex. Hope you can go on with it and win it, Alex. We will be keeping tabs. Hopefully, Alex, stay in touch on the channel. It would be awesome as a community to see how you get on in that position. Patrick, you're holding on to Salah or selling? Personally, I obviously don't own Haaland. That might be a question to somebody else in the chat, Patrick, on that one. For those that are asking, obviously, just to conclude, the Brighton-Man City game. Just to conclude the Brighton City game before we move on to the next section. For me, I feel like we're in a position right now with Erling Haaland where I do not think it's a desperate sell. I do think Man City will sort it out. But with the next fixtures coming up, Spurs, Liverpool and Forest, I think there is games there that are going to be tricky for Man City. I think Spurs are going to put up a tough test. But with Spurs' injuries right now, I do feel like they can also concede a lot of goals. If I owned Erling Haaland, I think what I will say to you is this, being a manager that doesn't own him. Let me put my team up. It is so good to have the money to spend in the rest of the team. When I came into this game week, obviously Erling Haaland can destroy your rank. When you look at the players that you have as an alternative, when I was taking a look at the fixtures for game week 11, and this is the only thing that I can really say is, when I looked at game week 11, I thought to myself, oh my God, Man City are going to kill me, and that is going to really hurt my rank. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay, well, Erling Haaland can destroy my rank. But I look at Sunday and think to myself, if I owned Salah and I owned Erling Haaland, then I wouldn't have Son. I wouldn't have Palmer potentially. I wouldn't have all these other really nice assets that other managers can't get to. So while I think Haaland on his own was the one that could hurt us, you look at the rest of it and think, oh, but if Haaland doesn't deliver, look at the other players that I do have available to me that can do the business. And you have to remember, this is a squad that I have that has Trent. He hasn't been doing the business. That could easily come down to a cheaper option. And then we can upgrade somebody like, for example, that could become, if we really wanted to go all the way down and just go really cheap in the defence, I'm not recommending that, of course. Just to give you an idea of what we can do without it. With that money in the bank, for someone like a Raul could become an Isak. That's the flexibility that having no Haaland does for your team. And that is why I do feel like this, for example, that looks like a great team once again. You've got the premium forward that is below Erling Haaland. We've got a stacked midfield. Bench is cheap, but bench isn't really the defence isn't really delivering right now. So just be cautious with Haaland. I feel like holding him is a great move, but obviously distributing those funds are just delicious sometimes. Haaland's actually so annoying right now, Olivia's saying. Craig took Smith Rowe out as a punt for Bruno. Again, this is the thing right now. You can see with my rank, I previously to this game week was, if you put it in here, 1 million in the world. Currently, with the game week I have basically half my rank, if not more. But I'm conscious that players can hurt the rest of our rank. And let's take a look at this right now, because I know a lot of people are quite curious on these Sunday games who can actually hurt the rank. Now, of course, I'm using my rank as a reference point here, so you might be different depending on what rank you are. But currently, where I'm at with the Sunday games, and just to remind ourselves with the Sunday games, let me just put them up. When we take a look at right now, Man United, Leicester, I would probably argue not a lot of people have Man United assets. I think Bruno Fernandes is probably the most heavily owned. Then it's going to be those managers that maybe wildcarded before and took a punt on a Garnacho or Diogo Dalot like myself. So Man United ownership not very high. So players there, apart from Bruno, can't really hurt you. Maybe an Onana in goal if they were to keep a clean sheet. Nottingham Forest versus Newcastle is going to be all about Chris Wood. That is going to be the main man that week. I still think Newcastle assets are quite lowly owned, so Newcastle won't really hurt your overall rank. Spurs Ipswich, of course, the big ones are going to be Porro, Son and Solanke alongside Brennan Johnson. The big one is going to be Solanke. And Chelsea Arsenal, if Arsenal keep a clean sheet, all of a sudden some managers game weeks who are having bad ones suddenly do improve. So when we take a look at actually what hurts me, my own rank, remember, I was currently 1 million in the world. I'm currently now 450k. But I think this looks at where we're at. So you can see here, players that will hurt my rank. An Arsenal clean sheet is always going to hurt rank. You see here, Raya, effective ownership at 18%. So we spoke about this. An Arsenal clean sheet is always going to damage the rank. Pedro Porro, 26% owned at my rank, is also a player that is going to hurt rank if they were to keep a clean sheet. And Bukayo Saka, now 26% owned, isn't really going to be a killer in terms of overall rank. I think all the big boys are out of the way now. You can see players like a Haaland, who was 107% owned, was the real one that was going to hurt the rank. So for me, if Wood stays quiet, there isn't really anybody that can massively damage the rank for me. And when we take a look at my own players, you can see it on the left-hand side. This obviously is taken from Live FPL. Please do check it out. It's a really good website for these kind of like analytical parts. What you can see here is every point that Sal's gets, it will bump me up 32,000 in the overall rank. So that's really good. I don't think Forest probably keep a clean sheet. I probably should have started Fabianski, but I wanted to back the better defence. Diogo Dalot, as you can see, each point is 32,000 green arrow. Son, 32,000 green arrow. And Garnacho. So these boys are massive differentials in my team. Whereas Cole Palmer, who's a bit more of a template pick, he only goes 15,000 places up per point. So you can see the contrast there on how Palmer, if he delivers, is good, but it isn't game-changing. Whereas players like Garnacho and Son are really, really important. And I really would advise managers checking out this site. It is really, really pretty sick. Something that is a good example of this is if I just show you, sorry, this is all over the place right now, but there's a really good graphic which tells you basically how many points you have benefited from a player. Sorry, this is not what you want to see right now. Ignore me flying through the pages. I do apologize, guys. If you just started this, it looks absolutely carnage, but I promise you it has been pretty effective so far. Okay, so we can look at the rank gain here. If you look at my team right now, you can see Visser was the main man. His points basically shot me up 427,000 places. He was the main differential in my team, but also Cunha, absolute differential as well with 360,000 place green arrow. So if these differentials bang for you, this is why I do not think you have to panic about your overall rank, because I was currently 1 million. I've had a couple of differentials go off, and now things are looking rosy as we speak. All it takes is a Garnacho goal and a Son goal, and the game week is going to be an all-timer. And if you take a look, again, this is why I really advise this website. If we come down to here, live total needed for ranks. So you can see here, I'm currently 5 points away from the top 400k, and I'm currently 34 points off the top 100k. So again, all it takes is a goal from Son, a goal from Garnacho, and that basically deficit gets halved. But on the flip side, all it takes is one bad game week and you're back into the millions. And that is why this season is so damn good, because it is so risky. And 1 week you could be king of the castle like me this week. I'm not saying that as like a you know, what's the word? Cocky thing. The reason why I'm saying it is because this season has been so bang average, but all it takes is 1 week. You have a great week. You think to yourself, I'm amazing at FPL. Next week kicks you in the teeth and you go back into the millions. And that's why this season is so exciting, because 1 minute you're on top of the world, next you are down in the rubbish. And I prefer seasons like that. It is way more exciting than just going through each week being like, yeah, small green arrow, small red arrow. Nah, this season is absolutely the best season because it is so extreme in what you can do with your decision making. So that is why I'm loving it this year. So I want to get back up to some of the games right now, because I appreciate we've got a lot to fly through, and that's probably why you guys are tuning in. Robert, hope you're well, my friend. Craig I was 28k at 5 p.m, 128k right now with Bruno, Johnson and Palmer. Yeah, so Bruno and Johnson go off, you are going to have a fantastic game week. Daniel saying I played Lewis and Trent over Mikalenko. Yeah, Daniel, but I think if you own both of those, my friend, that is the way to play it. And another day, Trent starts, picks up the clean sheet, probably some bonus points, and you are absolutely delighted. So I wouldn't be stressing about your selection there, mate. Again, wouldn't be annoyed about that. Robert saying I wildcarded 3 weeks ago, gone from 1.5 million to 61k. I put in 5 to 6.5 million players and it's paid off. Yeah, I think that was a big thing, really. I was one of those managers that wildcarded in game week 10. And I felt like, as I spoke about, there was an opportunity to jump on these mid-priced forwards while they're delivering. We know, as well as anybody else, the next week, the premium forwards will be back on the radar and it'll be tough to get there. It is what it is with fantasy this year, and that's why it's so damn exciting. So, quick touch on the Brentford-Bournemouth game, which was a really, really exciting game. You can see here, 1.38 XG for Brentford, 2.3 XG for Bournemouth. So, that was brilliant. That really was brilliant, because this shows that Bournemouth are a team that we can invest in home and away. And it also shows that Brentford are not a team that we want to invest in terms of defensive assets. The numbers are just really bad right now for Brentford. So if you own Flecken, would I make a goalkeeper transfer? Probably not, because I do think he does rack up the saves. We saw that last week where you had the agonising clean sheet wipeout. He had so many saves and he was going to be on for a double-digit return. So when Flecken does get a clean sheet, you are getting monster returns. It's worth noting. But as of right now, I'd say if you have Flecken, just keep and accept it. But it is a painful own. I do appreciate that. Bournemouth, as I spoke about, are a team that I absolutely have on radar, because the players are putting up fantastic numbers and they do go to teams. They go at teams, which is really important. Now, Visser, as I spoke about, 0.66 XG, 2 shots. When we talk about a player, that is opposite to Calvert-Lewin. It's Visser. This man is so efficient with his finishing. He's such a poacher in front of goal. And when you put the opportunities that like Calvert-Lewin has had over the last 6 game weeks to Visser, this man puts the ball in the net. And that is why expected goals is important, but it isn't the be-all and end-all. Because when you put someone like Visser in opportunities where they're low XG, he puts the ball in the net. And certain players just buck the trend. And Visser has proven that season in, season out. And that is why Visser is always going to look probably not as good as he should on the underlying numbers, but he will continue to deliver in home games. I'm going to put that caveat because I've spoken about it. I think Brentford are a great investment, but I would have him as part of a rotational piece to go alongside other players, apart from Mbeumo, who is fixture-proof, and you play him in every single game. Outside of that, some standout performers. We spoke about this. Evan Nielsen, I think he's good, but I still prefer some of the other forwards at that price point. I think we touched most on this. I think we spoke a lot about this with Brentford Bournemouth. I think Visser good as a rotational piece. Mbeumo long term still good, but would I be buying Brentford right now? Let's take a look at the fixtures because that is the big conversation to have. Brentford are just here. So I think you have missed the boat to an extent. However, Everton away, I think they win that Everton. I think Brentford away from home are a shell of a team compared to what they are at home. So I don't love the idea of buying Brentford going into game week 12. Then Leicester at home is the money fixture once again. So that is the thing, as I spoke about. You probably won't get big returns against Everton, but you could get big returns against Leicester. So it depends what you are doing with your teams. Then Villa away, I don't love. Newcastle at home, again, I think that's good. Chelsea away, Forest, very indifferent. If it was me, I wouldn't be buying Brentford assets right now. But let me know in the chat, are you one of those that has already? I don't think it is the time to be buying Brentford in your teams. I just think it is more a case of being rotational pieces in your team and avoid the defence 100%, unless it's someone like Vandenberg who is going to sit on your bench week in, week out as a cheap enabler. Now, just to touch on those two teams, Bournemouth is the team that I think we need to start having on radar. I would say the fixtures are quite indifferent. So Brighton at home, I think Bournemouth at home, I always back. Then Wolves away. Wolves defensively still putting up bad numbers. And I think Bournemouth have proven to be a good team away from home in terms of the underlying numbers. Then Spurs at home, I think is a great fixture still to this day. Ipswich, always a good fixture. Then West Ham. So when we talk about cheap enablers, I think Semenyo needs to be in the discussion as a pick for our teams. So let's get to it. Liverpool Villa. Liverpool Villa. I'm just going to put a poll in here, which is going to hurt a lot of people. It's going to hurt a lot of people. Did you own Salah in game week 11? Now, I do apologise for people who didn't. So, yes, and captain, or no. And I'll put another poll that will just be like, no, let's leave it at that. I was going to put one that just like, I hate you, Nacho, for putting this poll in. But let me know, did you own Salah in game week 11? If you did you captain him? Put yes if you just owned him, but of course you didn't put the captaincy on. For reference, the reason why I say that is because an hour before the deadline, I had the captain on Son. Now, 10 hours from now, that could look like the most worst decision ever because Spurs might put 6 into Ipswich and Son scores a hat-trick. But I just felt like, from my own perspective, the reason why I flipped it to Mo Salah was because of ownership. Let me just bring up the live FPL right now, just to give you a little bit of context onto why I personally flipped the captaincy onto Salah. I felt like Son had the better fixture, but we spoke about it on stream in the morning. Hopefully you guys were on that. No problem if you weren't. No offence taken. But we spoke about it on stream. Mo Salah's ownership was going to be 100 plus, and you can see it there. The green part is the one that is basically effective ownership near my rank. The next one is basically effective ownership in the game. So he was over 100% owned, and we spoke about it on stream. I thought Son's ownership at my rank was going to be around 7%. It was slightly more at 10% because obviously some people did put the captaincy on him. And I played out a situation in my head, and I just thought to myself, what is the situation I'd prefer? Captain Son blanks, Salah delivers, destroys my rank, or Captain Salah, get the points, and then obviously with Son, the situation, I can see Zed say, you changed because we the people voted, don't lie. Zed, you are the people and you did help me out 100%. But we also had a bit of a reflective moment, of course, on the stream where we spoke about it and you guys voting. And of course, me speaking about how I felt like Salah is the safer pick, because the way I look at it is this also. And Zed, you have called me out on that one and the vote definitely did help me out. So hands up, guilty. But also, as I spoke about, I do feel like there was logic behind it in the sense of Mo Salah's points for captaincy, if I didn't captain him, would damage the rank. Whereas Son's points, even if he gets the points that I didn't captain him, at 10% owned, that is just plus points for me, regardless. Yes, in hindsight, we can look back and say, oh, Son's captaincy, I could have had a mega haul with those differential points. But on reflection, I'd rather have Salah's points as captain and just get the Son points, and regardless what happens. That's the reason why. And of course, said because of the poll, I do apologise on that one. I remember me panicking on stream and asking you guys, but that's the whole point of this community, isn't it? This is the whole point of these streams, is having you guys for advice and tips, because I think a lot of people on streams sit on their high horse sometimes and probably think they're all knowing. Honestly, guys, most of you in the chat probably know more about FPL than I do. And that is why this community is so good, because it's an opportunity for me to ask you questions, because I don't know everything at all. Hence why my rank is where it is. You guys, Alex, for example, sat 8th in the world, have to offer so much. And that's why this chat's so damn good, and why we always get the polls up. We always get the conversation flowing, because you guys have so much to give on the streams and it helps everybody else in the chat. I wouldn't want to sit here and just say that my word is gospel, because it ain't. If anybody tuning in right now, my word is not gospel at all. And it's really good to have the contradictory arguments in the chat, because that is how we come to a good decision, and then we can sleep well at night. So that is why I think it's so damn good to have a little chat about everything. Zed, much love, bro. GG, my man. Love it. Man United, have a crazy game week. Edward? Is it Edward or Edward? For me, Man United are basically the key to this week. I know I've had a great game week, but if like I could have the cherry on the top, it would be a Garnacho goal. That said, I'm very worried about Garnacho not starting. A lot of people are saying that he is going to get benched. So that is why I am very, very happy that we're in a position right now where the points have come in for Cunha and Vissa, because I do feel like a Garnacho benching could be in order. And that is what I'm a little bit worried about right now. Okay, so let's get back into it. Liverpool Villa. The reason why I've got this up right now, because if you haven't already, make sure you do rewind the stream. We kind of went into some detail on the numbers for Salah. So just a few notes if you just tuned in. First and foremost, Trent went off injured with a hamstring injury. It's the international break. Do not make a move right now, because I still think Trent is a good option in game week 12 away against Southampton. But with the price fall of Gabriel to 6.1 million, if Trent is ruled out for game week 12, I think based on the fixtures and his price point, selling him is the right move, and coming down to an Arsenal defender if you don't have one already. That will be my move if we do get some bad injury updates regarding Trent. Sorry, just burped there. Because as we spoke about the upcoming fixtures, if you don't get the Southampton game, I don't think there's value over this period in holding Trent in my eyes. I would much rather have a Kanate, for example, than go in there. So in terms of this game, decent-ish game. 2.14 XG for Liverpool, 1.48. Villa had a couple of chances in that first half until Liverpool just squeezed the game out of them in the second half. In terms of shots for both teams, you can see them here. Obviously, that is the goal from Mo Salah there, and the goal from Nunes, where he actually rounded the keeper and looked quite composed for him. A player that we did consider in the wildcard in game week 10, but just no predictability on the minutes for him. No, Darwin Núñez isn't an option because Jota will be back after the international break. Straight away, you've got a player that is going to be influencing the minutes of Darwin Núñez, so do not be touching him. But in terms of the actual shot volumes here, you can see Núñez a couple of chances, Salah with the big chance there, which was 0.62. Really, he literally sprinted up to about 5 yards out. He never was going to miss or pass the ball there. In terms of, obviously, Villa, that big chance for Watkins with the header, 0.51 XG. Outside of that, a few chances. Philogeni's chance was actually quite significant, I thought, at the time. So when we come down into actual underlying numbers, again, we'll do this based on expected goals for now. Darwin Núñez putting up good numbers, 6 shots, 1.06 XG. Anybody that watched the game will know the chance that he really did have was when he was bearing down on goal, opened his body up. I thought to myself, here he is. Darwin Núñez, he's back. He's back. Arne Slot has got hold of him. He's converted him into a world-class finisher. And he does Darwin stuff and skies it over the bar. And that is the moment where you think to yourself, this guy just continues to snatch at chances even when he is bearing down in goal. Anybody that watches it, he did all the good stuff, composed himself, lifted his head, looked at the far corner and just put it miles over the bar. Really unfortunate for those that did take the punt on Darwin because it could have been a lot more. And again, we speak about big swings on Mo Salah. At the time, before that chance, he had an assist, not in the bonus points, and it was looking like a very average day at the office. But the big factor that we need to remember with Mo Salah is the minutes are monstrous. Absolutely monstrous. I thought to myself originally, maybe Mo Salah might come off early against Villa because he played midweek in the Champions League. But the guy is an absolute athlete, a machine. And while he is in this peak condition, the guy's going to keep playing. He's just going to keep playing because they don't have that right-hand side. I think they felt like Chiesa was going to come in, maybe be a little bit of an alternative to Salah when they needed to rest the bloke. But there's rumours that he might not be going away with Egypt on the international break. No confirmation, but there is a little bit of talk about it. And if that is the case, we're coming into a game away against Southampton where Salah isn't travelling away with Egypt. He's in the form of his life. Liverpool are just dominating games right now and are just so much more predictable, but in a good way under Arne Slot. Whereas at Jurgen's team, it was a case of rock and roll football. You might get 5 goals out of them, but right now Liverpool are being so efficient, and it feels like they're building that team to be efficient around Mo Salah. And while that continues right now, and the way that Liverpool build up phases, I think they're always going to create chances. And that is the reason why I think Mo Salah is the man to go for if you have a choice between Haaland and Salah. The big thing a lot of people are talking about is the fixtures. Maybe do we not go for him because of the fixtures? But look, Southampton away is just a phenomenal fixture. Then Man City at home in game week 13. Is anybody scared of that? I originally looked at that and thought maybe that's a time to come off Mo Salah. No chance. Absolutely no chance. Salah is staying in that team. Then Newcastle away in 14. Yes, that is a tough game. But then Everton, Fulham, Spurs. I think Salah is a long-term hold for our FPL teams. I see there is a super chat here from Scott. Again, Scott, far too generous, my friend. You've done this in the past. It is very, very, very generous of you, mate. Doesn't go unnoticed at all. Thank you, mate. So Scott is saying, I've game week 12 wildcard plan. Love this. Game week 12 was on the radar for me. I will be doing a wildcard video maybe tonight or tomorrow, which will be coming out because I'm conscious of the international break. So I will try and drop a video in a bit more detail, Scott. But let's go through this. So I've got a wildcard 12 team. Plan to drop Haaland to Pedro, but that allows me to go Onana to Saka, delightful. Lewis to Kanate, Garnacho to Son, Mazraoui to Dalot, with Salah, Palmer, Rea as the other premium choices. Any advice? Okay, so the way I'm reading that, Scott, and please do put a follow-up question, and no, please do not put it as a super chat, my friend. Just put it as a general comment underneath, or maybe reply to your own super chat. You've got a game week 12 wildcard, so that's my assumption you are wildcarding right now. So, and guys, please, in the chat, let's help Scott out here. Let me know in the chat who are the players that you think are essential for a wildcard team. In order to do this, we need to put up the actual fixtures and understand who are the teams to target. So I think there are a few players I think are absolutely essential. And while we're doing this, let's also try and put the players on the screen for you. What I'm doing while we are doing this, my friend, is just... I am doing stuff, don't worry. I'm just got it up on another screen. I'm just getting rid of players so we can put it up and have a build of a wildcard team right now on the chat. So, guys, help Scott out. Put some questions. Put some players who are essential on a wildcard. So, for me, Haaland's absolutely not an option. So, taking a look at this right now, I'm going to build a team and then I'll put it up on your screens. But Wolves are still a great investment. So I think Nori is still a good pickup long-term for your team. Cunha is absolutely essential. In terms of Chelsea, I think Cole Palmer. Jackson, one to consider. Do think he is good. Not essential though. And remember, 1 yellow card away from a suspension. I can't get excited about any other Chelsea player. Can I get excited about a defender? Not really. I just can't. Newcastle, if we see good stuff today, I do think Alexander Isak is going to be right on the menu for your team. And I do also think Lewis Hall is going to be a pick. I'm just building a team on the side here that I can put up on the screen. But again, Scott, what I will say, of course, is I obviously do not know exactly what the team would be, but let's try and build one. Can I just say, I feel like Arsenal triple up is just the way to go. I really do think, because long term, we can see Arsenal here. I know the fixtures are a little bit indifferent, but I just think there is going to be a period right now where Arsenal do just start to really tighten the game up and hit the ground running and kind of go into overload mode, because they're in a position right now where City are slipping up, Liverpool running away with it. I think Arteta is going to squeeze this game. And I will note as well, in terms of the underlying numbers for Arsenal, they've still been good defensively. So I still back them as a defensive unit. So I actually do think maybe just going for a double up in defence would be good. So, of course, that. You've mentioned about Lewis Kanate. Yes, I do think Kanate long-term is a really nice pickup at 5.3 million. Now, Garnacho to Son. I don't think Son is an essential for a Game Week 12 wildcard because we can see the fixtures here for Spurs. I think there are good fixtures, but I actually think maybe a Johnson might actually be a better pickup if you really want to go there. Dalot, Mazraoui. That's going to be a very difficult one because we don't exactly know what Amorim is going to do once he comes in charge. But let's put Mazraoui in for now as an assumption. So let's put this team up. This is what we've currently built right now. A few more spots to fill, Scott, for you. And of course, over this international break, what I would recommend is really trying to farm some of the prices out of price changes. So for example, what I'll be trying to do right now is trying to jump on those players that are rising in price and just hope that maybe you get a double price rise. That would be a fantastic position to be in. So these are the players right now that you've spoken about that are also included in this team. I think Cunha and Isak are a really nice kind of pairing. I think Saka and Palmer are absolutely locked in. Let's be honest, of course you're going to be owning Mo Salah in your team. So I think right now the base of your team would probably look something like this. Now, a few other options for your team. I feel like a Brighton asset needs to come in. When we take a look at the fixtures right now, Brighton, where are they? Wait, where are Brighton? Up there. I think there are good enough fixtures to get some Brighton in your team. So I feel like maybe trying to put in a João Pedro, I think is actually quite tasty in your team here. So we could look something like this. Again, budget for me is not great. So I would say to you, you probably have more money than I do. But if you can afford a team like this, I think you could do premiums of Saka, Palmer and Salah. Mbeumo, I don't think is essential, but if you own him already, I would keep him. Then it's a case of, do you want to jump on Man United? I think Hall's a really good pickup. I think Gabriel in the defence is great. Kanate, if you want to go there. Mazraoui and Nori. In goal, if you can go for Raya, I think long term he is fantastic. But again, do you have the money available? And I think Rodgers. Now, this team here is 1.6 million short. It's worth noting, Scott. But if you have the money available, I do think that is a great pick. So guys, before we wrap this up here, Scott said team would be Raya, Nori, Kanate, Dalot, Robinson, Harwood Bellis, Rodgers, Saka, Son, Palmer, Salah, Cunha, Wood and Pedro. So I think if you're wildcarding in Game Week 12, controversially, I wouldn't be as bullish on Wood. Maybe it's because I just can't get excited about Chris Wood. But the fixtures coming up, I mean, do you love it? Of course, you haven't got this game because it's gone. So you're bringing in Wood for Arsenal away, Ipswich at home, absolute money fixture. But then you're bringing him in for City away, United away with a new manager, Villa at home, Brentford away, Spurs. I think you've probably had the boat gone for Wood unless you've owned him already. So for me, I do think we could easily maybe just go for one Arsenal if we wanted to. We could go for a cheap goalkeeper in the team like a Verbruggen, get a piece of that long-term defence. I think I would be looking for maybe this sort of team. I think Mo Salah is just impossible not to own in our teams. If you want to go without him, you can. I'll be a little bit scared to do so. Saka is probably the negotiable one in here if you wanted to, but I think Saka long-term is going to be a good pick. So I think you could go for a team like this. The one thing I would note, Man United are of course a team that you want to get on, but let's have a bit more of a long-term lens here. You could absolutely pick up some value here, 100% under Amorim. But then Arsenal away, Forest at home and City away. I think if I was wildcarding in 12, I would either take a punt on Bruno and just get in the main man in that team, or I would avoid and reassess from game week 17 onwards when the fixtures get really good. So Scott, if you've had Wood all season, you've picked him up at 6 million, definitely keep him in your wildcard team for now and reassess at the end of game week at the international break, and then we can get there. So Scott, hopefully that's helped out. Players I definitely would consider on a wildcard that I think are absolutely locks in. I think Fabianski, obviously. I think Lewis Hall's brilliant at 4.3 million. I think an Arsenal defender is essential, 100%. I think if you've owned him, Buemo, keep him in your team. Palmer, Salah, I still think you just have to go with. Isak, I think, is the pick of the forwards right now, but we'll see how today goes. I think João Pedro is just going to be absolutely delicious, and I'll get on him early in a wildcard. And I still would have Cunha, but I appreciate if you've had Chris Wood, I'd probably then just either downgrade Isak to Wood and that be your pick, or obviously have Wood as Cunha instead. So mate, let me know your thoughts. Obviously, massively appreciate that super chat. And also, we will be doing a wildcard video during the international break, 100%, my friend. If you have any more comments, mate, please do put them in the chat. Do not drop me another super chat because that was very generous, and that would be too generous on top of that. So thank you very much, Scott, for that one. So guys, I think we maybe just need to touch on a bit of a Q&A to wrap it up. We can go for just over an hour, and I wouldn't mind wrapping it up in the next 10 probably, just to get on with adult stuff basically. So thank you so much for tuning in. We're not going to wrap it up right now. What I think we're going to do is do a bit of an open Q&A. I think it'll be the best way to get value out of this. Firstly, if you enjoy the stream, please do consider obviously smashing that subscribe button. It's always massively appreciated. And obviously like the stream. What I'll quickly do for people is just give you a quick update on my team for maybe people that are interested. Maybe you're not. So this is how the team is looking for game week 12. The plan was always to do Son to Saka unless anything terrible happens. So goalkeeper, I would just accept. I've got terrible goalkeepers this week, but I think Sells could rack up some saves against Arsenal. The defence originally picked itself, but now we're in a position where we have the yellow flag on Trent. Personally, I'm going to wait until the international break, see what Arne Slot updates us with. If Trent is out with a hamstring injury for a longer term perspective, then I will be selling him, and I'll show you exactly what my plans will be in a minute. Dallo, obviously, great pick, but I am also cautious that we do have the rotation that Amorim could bring as a new manager. Anderson at home against Wolves feels like an obvious pick in the team. So that part of it kind of selects itself. It's just what I'm going to do with, obviously, Trent. Midfield, Son, not ruling out keeping him against this Man City team who are so damn bad in transitions. I do think Son could actually have a field day against them, so I'm not ruling out keeping Son this week. Mbeumo, Palmer, Garnacho, Salah. I will monitor Garnacho. That is the big one because he could suddenly become what I thought was going to be a really exciting pick. If he gets benched this week and then Amorim comes in and just kind of causes chaos, that could be a very, very quick sell in my team. And I'd probably be looking to just downgrade him to someone like a Morgan Rogers or a Brighton midfielder. And then we got Cunha and Raul up top. So this week isn't looking fantastic. I actually think if I can just get away with a grey arrow in game week 12, I would be very, very happy. Captaincy currently on Mo Salah, especially if he doesn't go away with Egypt. Now, in terms of transfers, just to give you an update, and I'll bring up the planner here on the official fantasy website. So this is how my team looks going into the week. Let's say worst case scenario and Trent is ruled out. Very easy move for myself. That will be a case of doing Trent to Gabriel, bringing him in, knowing that this is more of a long-term move in my team, and an added bonus that his price went down to 6.1 million. So the team will look something like this: 1.5 million in the bank, and then I got to really reassess what I do with Son. If I see amazing stuff in today's game, and looking at Man City in the wide areas, I wouldn't be surprised if I just keep Son. I know Bukayo Saka is just sat there screaming to be bought, but I feel like it could be an amazing opportunity to actually have Son as a differential player in Game Week 12. So I may even just roll my second transfer going into Game Week 13, knowing that there are more avenues that I want to go down later down the line. But of course, if Saka just looks irresistible, an easy move for me would be Son out to Bukayo Saka. Then coming into Game Week 13, if I was to keep Son, then he'd be a guy who I want to start at home against Fulham. The problem is I wouldn't have Saka away against West Ham, who also are really crap. But this is why I really liked Vissa on a wildcard with the rotation, is he'd easily come in for this game, and I'll bring in Aït-Nouri for Anderson. And then the team looks really good for Game Week 13 as well. Remember, 2 free transfers in the bank, and no Saka, but is he absolutely essential in my team? I don't know if he is. So I think this team could look absolutely fine for Game Week 13 as well. And I could easily roll the transfer. If we look at the standout fixtures, the only one that I really don't have is Brighton. And when we come to this game week, if really I think to myself, I need a piece of Brighton, I could easily sell someone like Raul Jimenez and change him to João Pedro, wherever that man is. Where is he? João Pedro. He's hiding from me. A move that I could easily do is Raul Jimenez to João Pedro, bring him in for, let's say, Garnacho, if Garnacho becomes a real problem for my team very quickly. And the team could look like that with 2 free transfers and 1.8 million in the bank. I want to give myself some avenues to the Brighton attack. So that's the current plan, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really stressed about it right now. I'm just in a position where I'm going to be very, very happy just to see what happens over the international break and reassess. So that is the team. So guys, we're going to do a 5-minute Q&A. So if you have anything, please do drop them in. I'm basically going to work off everything past Wolverine's comment where he mentioned Smith Rowe. So basically anything before that comment, please do put your question back in the chat and I will come to it. But anything after Wolverine's one is going to be the ones that I'm kind of looking at from now. So I do apologise if you have already put something in the chat. Just put it back in and I will chat about it. So Wolverine saying, I have Smith Rowe on my bench, so I hope Palmer doesn't play at all today. I would say I hope that for you, mate. But of course, I'm in a position where I have Palmer. So we'll see what happens. I think Palmer probably does play. Sad ELL is saying, change Gabriel to Vardiel. For me, Gabriel is absolutely the one to go for. I just can't back that Man City defence right now. But Vardiel, of course, is delivering right now. Matthew Perry is saying, best replacement for Watkins. My best replacement for Watkins is Watkins. Simple as that. The reason being is the fixtures at Aston Villa are too damn good. Yes, he came off early. No, I would not be buying Watkins. But I think if you own Watkins, you keep him. I don't see him getting displaced in this Villa team. I don't see John Duran just suddenly starting for them. And the fixtures against Palace, Chelsea, difficult. Brentford, Southampton. I know it's been painful, Matthew. You got to keep. That is my view. You got to keep Watkins in your team. What do you think about Kirkes? Brilliant enabler. Don't think you need to rush to bring him in. I don't think you need to rush to bring him in, but I do think that, of course, if you want to be in a position right now where you want to get him in, the fixtures allow you to do so now. Chavinho saying, best 7.9 or below striker. Have Wood and Cunha already. João Pedro, Welbeck, Jackson, Evan Nielsen or Vissa. Okay, so let's take a look at what I love doing here, guys. Anyone that doesn't use it, Fantasy Football Fix, one of the best around. So what I'm going to do here for you, is my opinion. Obviously, right now, if you're looking at all of those, probably would be João Pedro, because I prefer him to Vissa, and I just like the excitement of João Pedro as opposed to Welbeck. But Welbeck is kind of like a Chris Wood pick, where he is the logical pick, but you just want to go for the one that has a bit more X factor. Jackson, long term, is a great pick as well, but I'd rather just go up even more and bring in Isak. So you're talking about max price of 7.9. I've given you my opinion, but I think it is really cool just to quickly take a look at some of the numbers for the players that are 7.9 or less. Ignore Havertz on this list because, of course, he is not playing. And we'll put minutes at, how do I get João Pedro in this team? Let's put 150. So this is putting up great numbers. Jackson, Solanke, I just don't think you'd be buying in game week 12 because the fixtures are a little bit ropey. Raul Wood, all the players I'm highlighting are players that are considerations for our team. So let's put those boys up for now. Welbeck is on this list as well, but he's on the other page. Cunha is fantastic as well. Welbeck. I think that's it. That's all the ones that we're looking at. Okay, so these are the forwards basically you have to offer to you. For me, I wouldn't go Vista. I know he's had a great game week, but I think the home game is where you want him. I wouldn't really be bringing him in for the away games, and they are a little bit mixed. Nicholas Jackson is fantastic. The XG per 90 is great at 0.65. I have no complaints for you going for Jackson, but I think I just prefer Isak as opposed to Jackson, and I'd rather go there. Solanke is fantastic, but I think the fixtures are enough to say you maybe have missed the boat with him as a pick. Raul Jimenez, I wouldn't be buying right now. I think there is too many minutes risks with Muniz coming on the 75th minute. Chris Wood, you know exactly what you're getting, but the fixtures for me are just so bad. I wouldn't be buying Wood now. So I think all roads lead to João Pedro. I'm going to be honest with you. I think if you don't have Cunha, that probably is the most logical pick for a talisman, good fixtures. But I think João Pedro's time is going to come. The one thing I will say is minutes are going to be very difficult to predict. Best 7.5, 4.7 million under. So I do think Lewis Hall probably is my pick because I don't think we have any certainty about the Man United defence once Amorim comes in. People asking about the planner that I showed on my team. That is basically a Google Chrome extension called FPL Plus, which is working alongside Fantasy Football Fix. Do check it out. You do need a Fantasy Football Fix account, but you can just get a free one, and it is one of the best tools you can have in the game. Stefanos is saying start Rodgers or João Pedro for this game week coming up. I mean, let's just bring up the fixtures for those that don't know. Coming into this week, João Pedro away against Bournemouth. No guarantees he starts, but I think he probably would. Or Rodgers against Crystal Palace. For me, it would be Morgan Rodgers, just because I have no certainty of João Pedro's minutes, and I also think Bournemouth are a good team. Can't see a fixture I wouldn't start Vissa in until after Xmas. I mean, I'm not a good guy to show this screen to, because I don't love that. I love this. That's okay. That's okay. That's not good. That's okay. I don't think the fixtures are amazing for Vissa, but any home game, I back the boy. I back him in every home game. Away from home, it's not that I don't back Vissa. I just don't really back Brentford as a team, I'm going to be honest with you. Do you think João Pedro is a good option in game week 12? Yes, if I was wildcard in 12, I would put João Pedro in and just hope for the best. I'm going to try and build up some transfers and then target Ipswich with rotating strikers and captains. Thoughts of the tactic? Craig, don't mind it at all. I think you probably could build a tactic like that. And Chris Wood, for example, in game week 13, he could easily go off against Ipswich 100%. Do I have a Discord? No, but we have a private WhatsApp chat for members. If you want to check it out, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/FPLfanshow. Last few questions before we wrap it up. If I had Jackson and Vissa, should I get Isak or João Pedro? All comes down to a price point. For me, I probably think it's the case of Jackson and Isak is quite a hard structure to build. So I think then I'd probably go for João Pedro. Thoughts on Bradley? The only way you consider Bradley is if Arne Slot comes out and says Trent's out for the next 2 months. Then Connor Bradley is on the menu. If that doesn't happen, I wouldn't go for Bradley at all. Benny saying, I've spoken about that. That's the fantasy football fix tool. Rico Lewis to Bradley of Liverpool. No. Oscar, the only way I would go there is if we get news that Trent is out long term. Eman saying I'm starting Pedro and Rodgers over Wood. That makes sense because he's got a really tricky game. Ambrose, hope you're doing well, my friend. Hey, mate, would you sell Saka or Haaland to get Salah? Okay, so it's all very, very hindsighty with Haaland's performance. I spoke about this on the stream. People are going to look at Haaland's numbers, see that he had an XG of 1.7. It isn't true because they've taken in both shots that he took in that one chance. So he took that one shot that got saved, and they've also included the rebound that he scored. In my eyes, that is one chance. Like, we shouldn't be looking at the numbers being like, oh, Haaland was so unlucky, because he actually scored his big chance. Look, it's hindsight, but I prefer the Salah structure as opposed to the Haaland structure. And I think Saka's fixtures long-term, he's going to become an option that everybody wants to own. So for that reason, reluctantly, if you have free transfers, I would pivot from Haaland. That being said, international break, Pep Guardiola, the man is eventually going to figure out a way of Man City playing, and I wouldn't be surprised if Haaland suddenly becomes everybody's main man. But while Salah's doing his stuff, it probably will be Haaland to Salah as we speak. How many minutes do I think Son will get? Yes, just to reflect on the games that are remaining, guys. Let's have some predictions in the chat just to wrap up this stream. Guys, okay, so we're going to go through the chat a minute. So, prediction time. We're going to wrap up the stream with prediction time. Yes, there is an international break for those that are asking. Do not be making transfers right now. Too much can happen. Mohammed, I will be doing a wildcard draft. Hopefully the video will come out tomorrow on that one. So prediction time. First and foremost, people, Man United versus Leicester. If you're watching this right now, let me know. I'm going to predict 2-0 Man United. Give you guys 30 seconds. Fire off your comments. Let me know. Man United versus Leicester. Man United being the home team, so you can just put 3-0 and we'll know that that is Man United. If you think it's going to be a Leicester win, you can put Leicester win, whatever score. Doubt there'll be many people. Fire them off in the chat right now, guys. We've got 30 seconds. I'll be super interested to know what people's thoughts are. What is going to be the score? I'll put a poll for those who can't be bothered to post. Obviously, we won't be able to do the actual score, but let's just do score prediction. Sorry, we haven't got the actual score on here, but please put your scores, but there will be an actual poll in the chat if you can't be bothered to write and you just want to vote who you think will win. And I'm going to make a note of this. I'm going to come back to it and we'll see if we should have put a little acca on. I don't bet myself, but maybe we'll see. So we've got Gavino saying 3-1 United. We're terrible defensively as a United fan. Johnny saying 3-0. Adnan saying, would you rather have a long P or a long P? What? Mohammed, 3-1 Man United. Man United 2-0. Spurs 4-1. Chelsea 3-1. Forest 2-1. Ben saying 3-1. Even saying 3-0. Ambrose is saying 3-0. Anthony saying 1-0 United. Eamon saying Man United 2, Leicester 0. Interesting. Everybody in the poll is basically, someone's put Leicester. Very interesting. I would love to know who put Leicester in that one. Good Evil saying my bench players keep getting points. Not a terrible thing, because you know your squad's at least good. So you need to look at it glass half full rather than half empty in that situation, my friend. One hand, you could say to yourself, why am I points on the bench? Other hand, you could say to yourself, at least my team's getting points. That means my squad's good. Cool. Looks like everybody's going for Man United. I probably would predict that as well. So Forest, Newcastle, guys, fire that one off in the chat, please. What is your score prediction? Me, I'm going to say that is going to be Forest 1, Newcastle 1. That is my prediction. I'll get a quick poll if people can't be bothered to actually put it in, but I'll be interested to know what you guys think. I'm going 1-1. I'm going 1-1. Forest draw. This is a bit more interesting, this one, because it's a bit closer. I'm going 1-1, but it's not good as I'm a sales owner. Forest 1, Newcastle 1. The Wood run ends today, most likely Isak goal. Mosey is saying, what do you think about Haaland injury? Who's that one, mate? Put that in the chat. Not sure who that is. Ben 1-0. Stridix is saying 1-0 Forest. 2-1 Forest from Ambrose. Anthony saying 2-2. John saying 1-1. Matthew Perry saying 1-1. Edward Fuller saying 2-0 Newcastle. People, 54% of people are saying Forest in the poll. If you don't want to put your actual score vote, put it in the poll. Another 30 seconds and we'll wrap it up and we'll crack on with Spurs Ipswich. Sad saying I go 3-1 Forest, 2 goals for Wood. That'll be a disaster as a no Wood owner right now. Forest 2-0. Zeus saying, how are you doing today? Personally, I'm doing very well, my friend. Hope you are as well. Into the FPL, 65 points right now. Decent start. Emma saying 2-2 Forest Newcastle. I can see Isak and Barnes getting a goal. Dreyan saying 2-2. Oh, Trent injury. Sorry, Mo. What am I doing? I'm going to wait and see. International break. Wait until we get an update from Arne Slot and then reassess. If he's out for game week 12, that's enough for me to sell. Very easy move for me to downgrade him to someone like a Gabriel. That would be my choice. Cool. Everybody's voted. It looks like quite strong, actually. 53% of people are saying Forest on the poll. In terms of the actual comments, it feels more like a draw on what people are saying, and I probably would back that. I am writing them down, guys. Okay, last two games, and I feel like these are the most exciting. So I think we all think Spurs are going to win. If you don't think Spurs are going to win, okay, let me know in the chat. Let's put a different poll up. Let's put how many goals do Spurs score? And also, guys, please do put in the chat what your actual score prediction is. I just think everybody's going to say Spurs. So how many goals do you think Spurs are going to score? Let's put 1, 2, 3, or 4 plus. Let me know in the chat what you think. Do you think it's be cagey? Let me know specifically if you want to in the chat. Me, I'm going to go. I'm going to go 4-1 Spurs. 4-1 I'm going to go for. Jamie saying 3-1 Spurs. Matthew saying 3-1 Spurs. Son going to be mad and score break. Yeah, so this is the only thing I thought. Just that classic thing. Son really pissed off when he got obviously substituted. I just feel like he's going to be like at it in this game. John saying Spurs 6, Ipswich 2. That would be sumptuous. I think Spurs will score 1. They will lose 2-1. Wow, man. I have Smith on my bench, so I hope Palmer doesn't play at all today. Wolverine, killer, that is my friend. Drain saying 3-0 Spurs. Eman saying 3-1 Ipswich. And basically people are voting for 3 goals for Spurs today, which smells about right. It's basically what the projected points and goals are saying. Right, I do need to actually go, guys. So if you want to, let me know in the chat, what are your Chelsea-Arsenal predictions? I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm so biased. So let me know who you think is going to win that game. Obviously, I'm going to say Chelsea. Get your votes in for Chelsea versus Arsenal. What do you think the score prediction is going to be? Personally, if I had to bet, I think it's going to be a score draw. I think it's going to be 2-2. I think it's going to be a Desmond 2-2. But let me know your thoughts. Gavino saying 1-0 Arsenal, Saka pen. Wouldn't be surprised at that at all. Eamon saying 1-1 Arsenal, Chelsea. Odegaard back. Odegaard back, but not back, because he's not match fit at all. And maybe no Rice, which is worth noting. So just be cautious of that. Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up there, guys. Not named person is saying 2-0 Arsenal. That's interesting. I'm just taking a look a minute to see if there is anything on Twitter regarding leaks of lineups, but there isn't much at all. Okay. Cool. I think that's it. Guys, 1-1 says Ambrose. Hope you are doing well, mate. Hope you are doing well. Edward, 1.5 all. 1.5 all. Interesting. Perfect. Okay, so guys, thanks so much for tuning in this Sunday morning, wherever you are in the world. I know some people are in California. People are everywhere. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. 65 points for my team right now. So good one. Good game week rank. And team for game week 12 bus team. But of course, we've got a lot to assess. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's been a long one, but I've really enjoyed this Sunday one. If you did enjoy it, let me know in the chat. And I'll try and maybe make this a bit more of a common theme if I've not got anything on a Sunday. My wife's away this weekend, hence why I'm on this stream right now. But I will try and make this a bit more common if it provides value. If it doesn't, then don't worry. But thanks so much for tuning into this. Hopefully there's a bit of detail. And Bangladesh for good eve. Awesome to hear, my friend. So yeah, we're going to crack on. Try and enjoy the rest of the day. And hopefully, if a slanky blank happens, it's going to be an all-timer game week and maybe a Garnacho goal. So thanks so much, everybody. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, smash the subscribe button. Make sure you do check out all of the good stuff. And I'll see you in a video this evening, no doubt. Whether it be a stream or it be a produced video, one of those two. Take care, guys. Have a great week in general. And enjoy the international break. Be a few videos, but not too much, as nobody really likes FPL over that period. Have a good one, guys. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.